If men aren't allowed to feel, where do those feelings end up?
When it comes to men and mental issues or mental illness, a lot of guys go undiagnosed for mental illnesses. Out of nowhere, a guy will just commit suicide or will just kill their partner or kill other people for what appears to be no reason at all. This is because men tend to bottle up their emotions, bottle up their illnesses, not seek any help, and tend to rely on themselves. Because as men, we have to always fight by ourselves and fight the battles that we have, any traumas that you might have. We tend to be the ones who rely on ourselves more than talk to other people. Sharing your emotions or being the one to go to other people or seek help is usually seen sometimes by other people as weak or as feminine, and so guys tend to bottle up their emotions, bottle up their thoughts, bottle up their feelings, bottle up any emotional or mental issues they might have, and then someday it explodes out of the blue and it surprises everyone. It's the sad part about it is that we're taught this since we're young boys that men don't cry. And the part is when men don't cry, they end up crying bullets. And it's a type of situation whereby we don't intentionally do it, but because of how society has conditioned us, that's how we end up being. And the problem is a lot of guys don't deal with their mental issues until the mental issues deal with them, which is a sad part of the world, but life is not fair.
Today, we're going to discuss men and mental health.
Awesome episode of What We Don't Say. Soft lives, hard minds.
Hello, angels. Welcome to What We Don't Say with Belina and my beautiful co-host, Pretty. We have quite a different episode ready for you with some inputs that we received from some anonymous men, and we look forward to exploring with you.
So there are certain questions that men aren't necessarily asked, and I don't think that society necessarily cares that much, or they don't see the need to focus on the mental health of men. And I think that it goes beyond the fact that men generally aren't open, but it goes down to societal expectations and how men were brought up within these specific societies. And basically, this is a problem that stems down to how we raise boys within societies.
This thing of black men don't cry is the worst thing
in the world,
to ever happen. I remember a friend of mine lost a child, and my dad was the first person to get to him before I could get there because we're very close.
Yeah.
And when I got there, I heard my dad, and this guy was crying, and he was like, "No, sorry, I don't mean to be crying. I need to be strong for her." But I was like, "Be strong for what? Let the mark show you to be strong."
Yeah.
No, don't be strong.
What does pain look like for you? Well, physically it's an ouchie, it's a headache or a dodgy knee. Mentally it's a disconnect. It's anger, it's the loss of a loved one, it's grief, it's jealousy, it's envy, it's personal pride. And spiritually it's a distance. Again, it's a disconnect. It's self-will. It's self-will run riot. It's reacting to life. It's making decisions that have consequences, like a boomerang. You send it out and it comes back out. And no truer has there been but learning or understanding that the finest way to show myself love is by making positive choices.
So, Pretty, on the conditioning of men, how do you think boys are taught to man up, be strong? What are the cultural and generational influences that make up some of why men don't cry?
I think it would be very selfish of me to answer that realistically, because of course I have never walked a day in a man's shoes. However, just from observation and from the people I care about, and just analyzing people or men in general, I think one thing that was constantly taught is the fact that being the head of the family means that you have no emotion must actually suffice at any given point.
And these particular stigmas and expectations, although patriarchal by nature, is societal expectations, and we've set such a standard that men have to fulfill a particular narrative in order for them to be men, in order for them to be accepted within societies, and anything that does not fit into that particular frame, then, or framework rather, is something that we deem to not be manly.
My perspective on how men have been conditioned to deal with mental illness is through silence. Because if mental illness is considered a weakness, then you shut down what's going on in your mind, or at least you externally don't communicate it, and you are known as the strong silent type until maybe you explode. And that's something that I've struggled with, actually, because I've heard a saying, men are scared that women will laugh at them, and women are afraid that men will kill them.
So, regarding men's mental health, it all stems essentially from how we as men deal with our emotions, right? So, it stems from, everything comes from when you're a boy, you're told boys don't cry. And then you grow into a man who doesn't know how to deal with his emotions, insofar as understanding the emotions, processing the emotions, as well as expressing the emotions. So I think it's very crucial as a man to learn your emotional well-being is part and parcel of your masculinity. So oftentimes masculinity has been defined to be this a rock-hard individual that can't be fazed by anything, stoicism. And whenever a person comes across situations that really test their resolve, and situations and circumstances always affect your mental health in such a way. And as a man, it's very crucial to have support from family, from friends, to help you deal with your mental health as best as you can. It stems from just our upbringing as men, from being a boy, young man, to being a man. Your emotions are sort of like, you're told that you're weak if you are in touch with your feelings, when it's not the case. So I think as men, it's very, very crucial to have a very healthy relationship with your emotions as a man, so that when you are faced with situations and circumstances that test you, and the trials and tribulations, that one isn't losing themselves and losing their control.
And for me, that is why men I see a man who's gone to therapy and has engaged with it, not just like, I've gone to therapy, checkbox, but it brought up this and this for me, and it's still bringing up this for me. Someone who engages with understanding how their mental involves their emotional and involves their results in their actions. That sort of openness is a softness I don't have to bring to a man. So I mean, have you ever dated a man who just didn't know how to express pain? That's one example of, you know, those eggshells that you end up treading when you are encountering men who want to be a strong silent type. But I feel like, you know, feminism has maybe done men a disservice, or I think men need to be invited into feminist circles more, not to be hated on, but to appreciate their stereotypically feminine traits that they can grow from, because it could be argued, have become so much more masculine as women. We've learned how to try to assimilate, try to get equal pay, while men, I think, have been left a little bit on the back burner with how tight the rope is for them to express the full kaleidoscope of who they are. So yeah, that's what I would initially say about how men are conditioned. I'd say we need to invite them into feminist circles, and not as our rivals, but as our counterparts, as our collaborators. We shouldn't just have to be, you know, so Neanderthal like that we're only with men to mate.
Hello. I just want to answer the questions above. From 1, what does pain look like for you? Pain looks like a horrible thing. I don't want to experience pain. I'm scared of pain. I just don't like pain. Number 2, who are you allowed to be weak around? I think mostly family. If I had a big problem, I would cry to family. I'll be weak around family. But would show a face to friends around like there's nothing going on. But family, you tell them the whole thing, every simple nitty-gritty problem. When did you learn? Number 3, when did you learn to hide how you feel? I know I don't really hide how I feel. I'm usually open about that. Number 4, what are you carrying that no one has checked on? I'm not sure I'm carrying anything. I think all my ailments, sicknesses I've got ulcer. I think I don't hide much. I tell family everything. Number 5, what does support look like to you practically? Support looks like to me practically when there's financial support, when somebody offers financial assistance. That's a practical move to helping with a lot of problems. Well, a word of encouragement wouldn't be ignored, but financial assistance. Number 6, when you're not okay, what do you do instead of saying it? I sleep. What scares you about being honest? Well, I'm not scared of being honest. I'm mostly honest. But when there's a chance to lie, if you consider that as dishonestly in favor of progress, then you could slip in a lie or two.
I think one of the biggest things that I have identified, especially with men and mental illnesses, based on observation and experience, is because this is what they have been conditioned to think. A lot of the time we're realizing that not only does it cause issues when it comes to every other relationship. So for an example, if a man is always taught that you should never cry and vulnerability shows weakness, you realize that ahead of the time when they get into committed relationship, it does become an uphill battle for them to be able to open up to their partners, therefore resulting in comfort through other measures and not necessarily healthy measures or measures that are conducive or help for them to or assist them in terms of how to deal with whatever emotional circumstances they are dealing with that time. It is very difficult to answer from a man's point of view because, listen, we have the textbooks, we have the research, but it's a different playground altogether to have these men actually speak from the heart for themselves. And I think that's why the show is dedicated to that today that we will be adding in all those clips and allowing the men to give them a voice coming from the man and our day-to-day men. You know, we're not talking strictly professionals or people who have done research. We're talking about people who have the lived experience, and that's why the show is dedicated to our men today, for them to understand that they're absolutely not alone.
Number one says, what does pain look like for you? There are two different types of pain. There is a pain that you feel as a result of something physical, you know, being subjected to your body, whether you've been hit or in a car accident or whatever the case might be. And then there is a pain that you feel that is an emotional pain, where your emotional upheaval manifests itself physically, resulting in one feeling the pain. Like, for instance, losing a loved one, or hear, you know, people say bad things about you and all those kind of things. You feel the pain. So there are two different types of pain. So what does pain look like for you? There is physical pain, and then there is pain that you really, you know, feel as a result of emotions, basically. Okay. Number two, who are you allowed to be weak around? So in life, you have what you call confidantes. Confidantes are people whom you've done due diligence in terms of their character, and you know, these are the type of people that will be at any given moment be as honest as possible to you. These are people that you view as a mentor, and people that have got a great self-control, that hold a certain esteem in the society. People that are in a position to be discreet, you know. In the event you open up to them, you're not going to hear your stories being said around in a society. So who are you allowed to be weak around? You are allowed to be weak around people that you trust with all your heart, people that will not be in a position to judge you. Equally so, people that will be in a position to be as honest as possible with you, regardless of the fact whether you like what is being said or not, because these are the people that have got their best interest at heart with your well-being. Okay. Number three, when did you learn to hide how you feel? Well, an individual gets to learn to hide how they feel. This is a very tricky question, okay, in the sense that there are situations in life whereby you really encounter some challenges, and perhaps, let us assume, depression also kicks in, and you know, the whole anxiety and all those kind of things, and then you end up having to doubt your capabilities. And then seeing that we live in a society, you know, that has got an element of evilness that emanates from people that are very close to us, whom we are of the assumption that they do love us, whereas the contrary is something else. So you learn to hide your feelings. because you want to process things by yourself. Whether the society is likely to judge you or not is a discussion for another day. But at that point in time, it works for you and it makes sense. So that's when you really get to hide your feelings, because you don't want to make yourself a mockery out of people you're not too certain who is who around you. What are you carrying? Number 4, what are you carrying that no one has checked on? Personally, I will say something that is really quite personal. You see, I'm 43 years this year, and my mom, but this is really quite personal. Hopefully it is kept on those bases. So my mom has got quite a number of kids, but for some reason other kids have found comfort in the fact that Alex is there and he takes care of mom, and the people do not really take initiative to take turns to be with her or whatever the case might be. And she has also developed comfort that this son of mine does look after me. So what are you carrying that no one has checked on? It is that sad part that I've just mentioned. And these are lessons really that I have also learned as a parent, that on the basis of the fact that you have brought someone on this planet Earth, it does not necessarily mean that they are likely to take care of you. So the whole thing brings a certain level of maturity in one's life, in the sense that I am forever ahead of things and thinking how to plan my life so that as I grow older, I don't trouble anyone, because my kids can be my kids, but I don't know how their characters are going to be and how they are likely to behave. So I want to be one of those elderly people who have a peaceful stay without having to trouble any of my kids. And the whole experience is on the basis of what I am experiencing currently right now with my mom. Okay, so what does support look like to you practically? Okay, support practically, there's two different types of support. There's support that comes on the basis of one having to give you all the psychological insights, just to try to get your mind to be in a good state. That's why at times you go to psychologists if you're having some challenges. But support practically, for me, it could come in monetary terms. You just bring in the financial aspect of things to assist in a situation, or provide a shelter to somebody, or be in a position to give food to the needy, or it could be clothes, or whatever the case might be. That I deem as support. When you are not okay, what do you do instead of saying it? I go play golf. That one is no doubt about it. I do go play golf, and when I play badly, at times it's as a result of the how can I put it? It is as a result of one having to try to deal with whatever that they might be going through. And I'm in a golf course, but the concentration is not there, because I'm trying to deal with the issue that led me to be at the golf course. But me being at the golf course is not about having to play exceptionally well that day. But it helped me a lot in terms of dealing with that matter, because after the game, when I go back, I would have processed things better. If I would have been at home and living a miserable life, I could have perhaps done something that is very stupid, not suicidal, of course, but at times you people rub you off, and you might want to also equally respond in that manner. But thereafter, when I'm tired, I get home, and then I find the best solution ever to deal with that specific situation that would have been troubling me. What scares you about being honest? What scares me about being honest is, we live in a society whereby there are some people that believe in being told what they expect or people that believe in being told lies for their life to propel, then the situation with me, it's quite different. We say things as it is, we call a spade, but on the basis of the fact that some people do not take kindly the issue of truth and honesty, we tend to hold back and not say things and just look at things from a distance, just to make sure that we maintain those relationships. Whereas deep down we'll be knowing very well that this person is going astray. I could have said one or two things that could get them in the right direction, but because of they have to react in a certain manner, should one be in a position to try to say something that is really ideal to them. So we just have to leave it like that for the purpose of life goes on. Who checks on you? People check on me are people that are very close to me, people like the person who sent this message, Alvi, and there are quite a number of people that really will check on me from time to time. So people that are dear to my heart. Do you feel like you have to love, you have to earn love, or you have to earn respect? You have to earn respect, no doubt about this. You don't earn love, you have to earn respect. Once you earn respect, then the issue of love, it's inevitable. There is a correlation in the two, but the latter comes first. Respect comes first, and then when there is respect, love automatically prevails in that specific environment, basically. Without no effort whatsoever, inevitable, love falls into place. What would feeling okay actually look like for you? Feeling okay for me, first things first, and not everybody does feel okay, and not everybody will be in a position to feel okay in life. Feeling okay, first things first, it emanates from a position of a person who is honest to themselves. You've got to acknowledge certain things in your life, and acknowledge the fact that this life that we're living in, you control the controllables, and you let loose of the things that you cannot control. Once you are in that state, it is only when you can be in a position to feel okay, because there are certain situations that you cannot do anything about, and then there are some situations whereby you've got to put an effort and say, you know what, let me do 1, 2, and 3, and if you fail, and then you feel okay because you've done whatever that it takes for you to be in a position to help out on the situation. So feeling okay, in my view, it comes from people that try to live life in an authentic manner and be as honest as possible with situations, and accept that they can change certain things and they cannot change certain things. In the event they cannot change certain things, they are okay. But if they can do whatever that it takes to be in a position to change something, and then they are okay. But if you live a lie, and you live that type of a life whereby, it's all about having to impress the society, to impress the world. Let me give you an example. You've got some people who will buy a car that they cannot afford and live a lifestyle that they cannot afford and portray it out there into the social media, but deep down at night they don't sleep, because they know very well the deficit or the disposable income, how their account looks like, but their life is all about impressing the next person or impressing the society. Those kind of people will never be okay.
Have I dated a man who has expressed his emotions? That's a tough one, because I think then I could see it that way, because of also I've had a lot of toxic relationships, so it's a tough one, because you don't know if somebody's actually being genuine and expressing how they're feeling, or they're manipulating you, right? So it's a tricky one, or if they literally just gaslighting you. So I think I have, in a sense, that I got to know them, or rather I got to see them vulnerable. Let me say that. I got to see them vulnerable, whereas maybe they are going through a lived traumatic experience, and maybe they not so much express how they feel at that point in time, but they are able to somehow show me how this particular incident is making them feel. And also, I think one thing that I learned is how to ask questions. So not everybody will be open with you from the get-go. So how you ask a question is also a very good way to be able to understand a man. I don't ask questions that want them to directly express their emotions. Like asking a man, how does that make you feel? Doesn't always land the way you would ask a female and how her response would be. With a woman, we are in touch with our feelings, our emotions. But with a man, it's because the reason why they remember things differently is because they remember events and the logic behind it. But we understand how it made us feel. So to ask a man, how do you feel? It's very hard for them to answer because it's something that is not easily, it's not something they can easily tamper into. But asking them what happened on that particular day, they'll be able to give you the exact detail aside from emotions. That's why men are the worst storytellers, because we add spice and emotions and all of those things, and they just tell you, hey, listen, I went to the garage and I poured petrol and I came back. We on the side have all these little frills and decorations on the side. So I think I have seen that part, and I guess that is some kind of expression as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be verbal. It can be just allowing them to be vulnerable, allowing them just to say, babe, I need a hug. You know, I don't even need to ask why. But the fact that you say, babe, I need a hug, or we would be chilling watching TV and they just grab your hand. And I know at that time is that they're probably zoned out. They're probably not even watching what we're watching. And even if it's just him appreciating that moment or being present with me at that moment, that in itself is him expressing how he's feeling without saying anything. So I have experienced that in leaps and bounds where men, they do show me without having to say the words, because I do understand that sometimes it is a little bit more difficult. Unlike me, where and I'm not going to say we're all women because we're not all the same, but unlike me, where I would rather tell you instead of show you, because showing is a little bit of a tough one for me, because I would rather say it and not show it. So if I want to be weak in front of you, I'll tell you that, listen, I'm not okay, don't touch me. But instead, a man will be like, he's quiet, but please hug me. So, yeah, I have in a sense.
So, I hope I'm making sense. But one of the best ways to deal with mental health for men is working out, you know, having a regimen that inculcates gymming and training, weight training. For me, weight training has helped a lot with my mental health, with my current state in my life, you know. So yeah, it's plus you also need, plus I suggest that every man gets their hands on the book called Normal Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Robert Glover. He's a male psychologist, and he touches on a plethora of topics that are directed at men and how to be men, you know, especially in the 21st century, to give clarity on how to deal with, like, I can just say, the defining manhood in the 21st century. Dr. Robert Glover is called Normal Mr. Nice Guy. It touches on relationships, finances, you know, your emotions as a man, what to do when you want to accomplish your goals and your dreams. So yeah.
You know, you just made me realize that I have mostly dated emotionally unavailable men. And that is something I'll need to work on. So thank you for that insight. I think, you know, having to interpret body language and slight cues, for me it can be quite exhausting. I do just wish that we could normalize men feeling deeply,
But that's quite an unfair judgment, because what you're doing is that you're saying that because they don't feel like the way we feel, therefore, however they express their emotions, we should try to change that. Maybe because we're not the same, and hence I'm saying that men are logic and we emotion. So if emotion does come secondary to them, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're doing it wrong. It's just the way that they are wired. But I hear what you're saying, that it can be exhausting, but trust me, when you love somebody, those emotional cues is the best language that you can get from them, because you understand that I'm not going to get much verbally, but if I want to understand my partner, it almost comes naturally to be able to say why there's certain things that I can pick up to see that my man is not okay, or he is probably reminiscing about this, and also just being an attentive listener. Men will say so much without saying anything, and that's the truth. But if you love somebody, you are willing to. And I love the fact that you said maybe they were emotionally unavailable, because if they are, they can reel you in. Half of the men that I've been with, they're the ones who actually taught me how to be emotional. I don't know how to. Hence, I'm saying that for me, showing emotion will be secondary compared to how I feel. And sometimes how I feel does not come across as this is actually how I genuinely feel, because it's come off cold and harsh. But the fact that somebody can say, I never used to like cuddling, but I dated a man who loved cuddling. And the fact that he can be like, dude, listen, this is how I express my emotions. It's somehow because you love that person, you're willing to listen. So just because it's different, it doesn't necessarily mean that society is frowning upon it, though.
That may seem insignificant, but in fact are vitally important for clarity and a lightness and a light touch that then reflects back out into my world. Who are you allowed to be weak around? I have a team of people who I am able to bare my soul to and show my weak side, show myself when I need to speak about human things. You know, at the end of the day, I try and be as honest as possible. And what do they say? Put it on the lips. Put it on the lips. I try and put it on the lips and just get it out there. So I have a close family of people who I can speak to, brothers and sisters, and also my blood family. When did you learn to hide how you feel? I think as a child, I was abandoned. I had an abandonment issue, which came from a perceived rejection. And so I was always very fearful of that happening again. So I would mask my feelings. I wore many different masks throughout my life. Actually, it's only in the last quarter that I've been slowly taking off those masks and being militant with expressing how I feel. What are you carrying that no one has checked on? Everything that is inside that is causing or troubling me, I have put on the lips and I've put out there. So there's nothing that I'm carrying that is not being checked on.
There's Simone de Beauvoir, I think, wrote, she was one of the first waves of feminism. Women are not born, they become women. You're born female, you become a woman. And I think it's the same for males. You're not born male, you become a man, right? So we can get into almost stereotyping. Men have this sort of approach, women have this sort of approach. Yes, there are hormones, yes, there are biological things, but if we don't really have the statistics and the data to support that, I would say that whoever you're with, you learn the rhythm of what their emotional landscape is.
Do you feel like you have to earn love or respect? Yes, I think you've got to love to be loved. Definitely have to love to be loved. It's a two-way street. Hate does not produce love on the other end of the stick. I believe that, yes. What would feeling okay actually look like for you? Feeling okay looks like having enough money to do whatever I want to do.
So I think that gendering how men communicate is a little bit problematic, because then so I'm kind of disagreeing with my initial statement.
I can hear you. I'm like, how, but you're siding with me.
That's why I say I agree with you. I agree with your disagreement.
I hear you. You agreed with me. But you did say, yeah. I think I definitely agree with that. And I think growing up in a predominantly female household family, and by family I mean extended and everything, what you always taught is the fact that you don't need a man, right? But what has that taught us in society? So women are now being raised to become independent women who don't need men. However, the men are taught that women, basically what I'm trying to get at is the fact that we are literally teaching our kids to be against each other. I remember this whole notion of men are trash. I'm not a feminist, by the way, and I think the movement and the narrative have completely lost the plot. I'm not equal to a man. We are not equal. God did not create us as equal, and I do believe that we are different. We are absolutely different, and we serve different purposes in the ecosystem, and we all need to understand that. And without sounding like an oppressed woman, we should all understand where our lane is. And the problem is because we're trying to blur the lines, and men, and this has absolutely nothing to do with sexual preferences, but I mean in terms of in society, we are teaching women to become men, that they don't need men, and then we want the men's place to be replaced, but we still want a man to be a man, and then we see them as just money making machines, and if they actually don't provide, they're not a real man. And I think as a society we have contributed so much to destroying our men's mental health. There's nothing more crippling like a man's ego and making him feel little. So when you come across people saying men are trash, I think that statement alone was so aggravating. I think we all trash, number one. Let's just start there. I think we all have a piece of trash within us. If you're going to say men are trash, you need to understand from what stance that comes from the fact that, this is also gonna ruffle a couple of feathers, but girlfriend allowance. I'm sorry. What the fuck? What? Why? If I had a son and my son had to pay to be with another girl because they are dating, it would absolutely make me hurl. Like, I'm sorry. And I understand women need stuff. Go fucking ask your father. I'm sorry. I've never understood. And then we want to dehumanize men, and we want to belittle them because they don't have the money to give us for girlfriend allowance, for us just to look pretty and not have ambition and not want to do anything besides do our nails and be seen at clubs every weekend. I mean, it just makes me so mad, actually. And we are raising sons to believe that this is the ideal world, where they are providers only when it suits women. And I know this is probably, I know a little bit of backlash is going to come from this, like, no, you hate women, I'm a narcissist. It's not even about that, because when you grew up in different areas and you have been exposed to different people, you realize that actually we are all a little fucked up. So for us just to say that men, okay, I'm sorry, that statement for me, it had me going. It really did. And I was really not a fan of it, especially having so many brothers as well. And I'm just like, yeah, but how many women don't know who their baby daddy is? I'm sorry. So I'm like, I'm gonna ruffle a few feathers, you know. And we out here saying men are trash. Yeah, but you're the one. I think the only reason is because we can only have one baby at a time. But yeah, I know. It just that's our only issue.
Yeah, biology limits us from being the hoes we have.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And I love women, bro. Like, I love women. I come from a home of women. Girl, I love women. But I'm just saying that we are the main contributors to why men fall apart.
So I went to all-girls school. So my only competition was 4 grades with other women. So we were never really, we didn't have the opportunity to, it wasn't even an opportunity, there was no interest. It was just like boys were just boys and doing their own thing. And I can't say that I had a massive hormonal, I had crushes and that sort of thing, but I was raised to focus on my work, focus on being excellent, and view women only as competition or inspiration when it comes to, you know, achievements. None of those growing up was marriage. So I guess I accidentally became a feminist by action, because to this day I'm pleasantly surprised if a man, but you see, but also the feminist in me is also a little bit like, I'm a bad feminist. I actually want, I've not gone on a second date with someone because they split the check.
I think touching on the fact that for me, feminism it's not a bad thing. It really isn't. But I think the way it's been chopped and screwed and just being, people use it to their benefit. Bear in mind, right? I believe in princess treatment. I really do. But it's just like that favorite saying or that favorite quote that says, yeah, but you know, woman, if all men would be to remove from the world, who would protect you? And the woman turn around and be like, protect us from who? You need to be a little bit cautious about your opinions. As educated and modern as I am, I want to be a housewife. I'm not saying I want to be in the kitchen the whole day, which I actually don't mind, by the way. I just need to learn how to bake. But there's nothing more that makes me feel more powerful than a man allowing me to be feminine. What that says to me is, first and foremost, number one, I am safe. I am safe. And not because I can't keep myself safe, but my man is my security. And not just financial security, but I mean, this man is protecting my heart, my home, whatever. And that automatically allows me to relax. You know, I don't want to be in Bogoto. And Bogoto is a rock. I don't want to be in Bogoto all the time. Strike the woman, strike the rock. I don't want to be struck. You know, sometimes I really do just want to wake up and just bake the whole fucking day while my man goes make millions. I can't compete with him. So, and I don't want to compete with him, because we're not here to compete, we're here to complement. Soft lives, hard minds. Thank you for joining us.